The video begins with a dimly lit apartment hallway, the walls cracked and flickering with the faint glow of a single overhead light. The camera moves slowly, focusing on a cracked smartphone lying on the floor, its screen lighting up with notifications that appear to come from no one. You explain that this is where paranoia begins, not with a monster or a killer, but with doubt, the unsettling sensation that reality itself might be betraying you. Residents in this building have reported strange phenomena, shadows shifting against the natural flow of light, whispers in empty rooms, and objects mysteriously moving when no one is around. The hook intensifies as you describe the central case of Clara, a young woman who begins to notice patterns she can't explain. Her keys vanish and reappear, doors lock themselves, and mirrors reflect figures that aren't there. At first, she dismisses these experiences as stress or imagination, but soon the disturbances escalate, and she realizes the building or something inside it is actively warping her perception. The intro expands on this terror, explaining that even security footage shows impossible things, fleeting shapes moving independently, empty rooms bending and disappearing, and shadows that do not match their owners. Clara begins documenting everything in a journal, only to find that her own writing transforms when she looks away, messages appearing that she never wrote. You explain that experts believe a form of psychological contagion may be at work, one that feeds on doubt and fear, twisting reality until the line between imagination and existence disappears. By the end of the intro, the viewer is left with a creeping sense of unease, wondering if paranoia is just a feeling or if it has somehow taken physical form in this building, silently watching, waiting, and manipulating everything around Clara. The story dives deeper as Clara's life inside the apartment building begins to unravel completely, showing how paranoia is no longer just a feeling but a force that actively manipulates her reality. At first, the signs are subtle: misplaced keys, doors locking on their own, lights flickering when she isn't near the switches. Then the disturbances escalate. Mirrors no longer reflect only her image, but glimpses of figures standing just behind her, frozen, watching. Whispering begins in empty rooms, faint at first, then growing louder, repeating phrases she doesn't understand, yet somehow echoing her own thoughts. Even the apartment's security footage becomes unnerving. Shadows move independently of their owners, hallways stretch longer than they should, and rooms vanish from frame only to reappear in angles impossible in real space. Clara documents all of this in her journal, but the notes transform when she isn't looking, morphing into warnings she didn't write, as if another presence is narrating her life. Her mental state deteriorates rapidly as she notices neighbors behaving strangely, some accusing each other of tampering with personal belongings, others vanishing without explanation. Fear spreads through the building like a contagion, infecting everyone who dwells within it. Clara begins exploring at night, flashlight in hand, desperate to uncover the source of the phenomena. She walks through darkened corridors only to find doors leading to hallways that shouldn't exist, and in one moment, catches a reflection of herself in a mirror, but the reflection grins first, its movements delayed and unnatural, mocking her very sense of self. Technology turns against her as well. Phones, computers, and even audio recorders play back distorted versions of her own voice, layered with whispers and faint chants in a language that feels alive. Sleep becomes impossible. Even when she closes her eyes, the whispers continue, often predicting events before they happen. Investigators who enter the building report a suffocating and natural silence, punctuated by the faintest creaks and whispers, and the feeling that the building itself is alive, observing and manipulating everything within it. Each attempt to confront or escape the source only leads to further disorientation, rooms bending impossibly, shadows detaching from their owners, and fleeting glimpses of figures that vanish the moment anyone approaches. Clara begins to lose track of time and identity, realizing that paranoia isn't just in her mind, it's an external presence feeding on fear, twisting reality, and trapping its victims in a never-ending cycle of uncertainty and terror. As the night deepens, the building seems to pulse subtly, as if breathing, and every sound, shadow, and flicker is orchestrated to keep its occupants on edge, leaving them to wonder whether the horrors they witness are real or if the very act of observing them makes them part of the nightmare. By the end of this descent, Clara is alone in her apartment, trapped in a world where walls move, reflections lie, and the line between reality and hallucination has been erased entirely, leaving the audience with the chilling certainty that paranoia can become a predator, and once it chooses a target, there may be no escape. The video closes with a lingering shot of Clara's apartment, now silent and empty, the faint flicker of a hallway light casting long, unnatural shadows across the walls. You explain that the building itself, for whatever force inhabits it, remains, feeding on fear, twisting reality, and waiting for its next victim. Clara's journal lies open on the floor, the last entry repeatedly scrawled in her own handwriting. They are always watching, even when I am not. You warn viewers that paranoia is not just a state of mind. It can become a living presence, manipulating perception, isolating its prey, and turning the familiar into something alien and terrifying. As the screen fades to black, faint whispers echo indistinguishable, taunting and persistent, leaving the chilling suggestion that wherever fear exists, it may already be watching, waiting, and ready to consume anyone who dares to doubt what they see.